Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871. Welcome back to BitChute. Welcome back to Rumble. Welcome back to Free Speech. Okay, coming to you today with an extremely disturbing accounting of medical murder. Could even be called premeditated medical murder. I got a compilation video here from, let's see, who are we coming from today? This is 6 Cents. He put it up on his BitChute. It's a compilation video of a number of videos. Now, there are portions of this video that I do call into question its authenticity. I'll point that out to you. I don't want to be too long here. I am trying to exercise a little brevity, but I just simply want to let you know what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be talking about today. Also, we're going to be doing a complete review of a New Jersey House bill. I believe it's New Jersey House Bill 5271. I might have that number wrong, but don't worry. We're going to jump over to it and we're going to see. It is absolutely diabolical. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the Republican deep state, because we like to think of the deep state as being comprised of nefarious far left radicals, but actually you can pretty much do away with all the labels, be it right wing, left wing, because that basically is the deep state. The deep state is comprised of all political parties. So I guess it's correct to say that we're going to be taking a stroll down the Republican corridor, okay? We're going to go down the halls of the Republican corridor deep state, and we're going to see how the deep state utilize its Republican assets, that it has recruited, being willingly or unwittingly, to execute its diabolical agenda. All right, let's listen to a little bit of what we got here. I'm just going to take maybe 3 or 4 minutes of this, various parts of it. I just want you to see, probably less than that, actually.
So this tweet is going viral on Twitter. A lot of people are resonating with this. A lot of people are horrified. I'm horrified by what this means and what they've done to the people. This is a post about a 75-year-old man who was abused in the hospital, told he only had 3 days to live. The doctors said he had sepsis and that he was definitely going to die. The nephew of this elderly man was able to extract his uncle from the hospital. And as these two left out of the hospital doors, they were handed a big box of end-of-life drugs. This is disgusting. Jackie reports nurses came to his home to check whether he was given the morphine, midazolam, and 2 other drugs. The nephew told them in no uncertain terms that he had absolutely no intention of giving his uncle these drugs until he knew what they did. His own mother had been euthanized with the same drugs in a hospital in 2021.
Okay, so now, first thing I'll point out to you is the cadence in which the voice is speaking. I am like 99% sure that this is a AI generated voice that is speaking to us, that it's not an actual human being that's doing the reading, or it's actually a synopsis of the reading of the text that we see here. You go on to say that if you feel that your mother was euthanized with these drugs, what do you mean you want to see what the drugs are going to do? It's a little peculiar what you're saying, but they do go on later to show what these drugs are. The person, basically they are alleging that the person that we then go to show you, they switch over to footage to show you somebody with a collection of these drugs in their possession. Let's take a look at that, shall we?
Like morphine and midazolam. Copious amounts of this stuff.
So you can see I'm not bullshitting you. There's the midazolam, 5 milligram per milliliter. There's the morphine, 1 milliliters. There's the Lebom, whatever that is. That's the 3rd drug they give for palliative care. Let me turn one round. Turn them over, actually. And then there's the 4th drug they give for palliative care. lost whatever that is. I lost. Then you got that Lebon, whatever that be. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, this person who has possession of these drugs, some of them he can't even pronounce. So I think that's a fairly decent indicator that this is somebody that doesn't normally have these type of drugs in their possession. I do believe that I mean, these are indeed an end of life cocktail. This person was provided an end of life cocktail for his loved one. I want to jump ahead here to our next video, or the next portion of this video, should I say. Like I said, I just want to take small snippets here so that we can do a deep dive into our House bill, shall we?
None of these medications was ever given. And luckily, he's still alive to this day.
A lot of people are calling these the midazolam murders. Here's a protester with a sign. 9.9 million milligrams of midazolam was ordered by Matt Hancock to murder the elderly in care homes. So this is absolutely horrifying. Here's another similar situation where a family member gets very concerned after being pressured to allow doctors to kill his mother. He calls the police and the police defend the doctors.
These people telling me that they're going to make my mum slip away in the night by giving them a morphine mix that's going to end my mum's life.
They're telling me that that is a possible consequence of giving them something to make your mother comfortable and not in distress.
And I've made the allegation.
They can't guarantee.
I've made the allegation, and I've told you that I've spoken to 3 staff members, and I spoke to the boss, and he's told me on the fly that my mum shouldn't be suffering, and he's going to administer some drugs that will end her life, and he will end it with
consequence.
his exact words, sir. I'm telling you what I'm telling you, sir. Okay? The gentleman said to me, your mum will suffer for 6 or 7 hours without it, suffering right now, and she'll be gone within the hour. And I'm saying to you, this is what I've been told by 3 different people, plus a doctor, and you're saying that there's nothing criminal about this in no which way, that they're going to end somebody's life that is not in pain.
They are giving your mother what they believe is going to alleviate her suffering and her distress, which they've identified, and they consider that is the most appropriate.
Are you sure you know what? Sorry, sir, no disrespect. Are you sure you know what you're talking about?
That is.
I want you to bear this, to remember this interaction with law enforcement. Because when we go to take a look at New Jersey House Bill 5271, it has an extremely chilling clause in it that will put to rest any sort of person, be it your own family or a government entity, that would take it upon themselves to advocate for you while you are incapacitated, dare I say, made incapacitated, rendered incapacitated, and once you've been made incapacitated, it will be your jailers, your medical wardens, who are going to be who are going to make all the sole decisions as to what your care should be, okay? We're going to take a quick look at that. I just want to show you, jump ahead here and show you a woman, because this goes on for about 5 minutes. His back and forth with this police officer. He's desperately trying to make this police officer understand that these people in these healthcare facilities are trying to murder his mother. And I will say this on behalf of the law enforcement officer. He is just a cop, okay? He's not a doctor. He definitely doesn't know your mother's situation. So they are using this type of uncertainty. Here in New Jersey, the deep state Republicans are using it to parlay this type of uncertainty into weaponized death, euthanasia, here in the state of New Jersey. Let's jump ahead to our next part, shall we?
Here's another tragic story of a man named Chris, who was deprived of food in the hospital, and then was killed in front of his wife on FaceTime. The doctors claiming that he agreed to be killed, which is absurd.
So he was in there, and I've got texts from him. They did not, where he's saying he's so hungry and thirsty, and they weren't feeding him or giving him water. And so on the second day, they tried to put him on the ventilator, and he refused. And I was patched through too. And I said no, and I said whatever he wants, but he did not want to. He was aware that was dangerous. And then on the fifth day, and I was really sick. I had double pneumonia and 103 fever. And on the fifth day at 10 p.m. of his stay, I got a call from a doctor in the ward saying that my husband was saying he couldn't go on. And I was very alarmed. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, we'll call you back. And so within 2 minutes, they FaceTimed me from the executioner's phone. I've got her name and number. And what I saw on the video was my husband sitting up in bed in the hospital gown, and he was awake. His eyes were very drugged. His speech wasn't slurred. And the executioner, the nurse, was sitting on his bed facing him with her moon suit on, with her back to me. I never saw her face. And he said to me, I'm sorry. And I had no idea what was going on. No one had told me they were going to kill him in a few minutes. And he sounded fine. His lungs sounded fine. He sounded fine. And I said, oh, that's okay, like that, because I didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And then they proceeded to give him a cup of water, a cup of soda, a chocolate pudding pop, and he was very happy, because I'm sure that I'm speculating, but that was the first food he'd gotten in 5 days. Then the nurse, the executioner, started speaking into her shoulder and calling for, there were 2 drugs. I don't know what the first one was, but the second one was morphine. And every 10 or 15 minutes, she would call for more morphine. And I don't know if they injected it. I don't know if they gave it in the IV. I couldn't see. But they did this for an hour and 20 minutes until he died. And he was screaming, doubled over in pain. His head got 10 times the size. And I couldn't believe it, that they were actually executing him in front of me. They didn't even care.
Yeah, now obviously all I can really do is speculate here, but given the fact that the gentleman ended up writhing in agony and pain, doubled over, it seems like he was experiencing the bulk of his pain from his stomach. I believe that they put the lethal compound into the food that he probably ravenously, gobbled up because they had starved him for so long of food and water. He probably ingested his poison, his lethal cocktail, and it's not unheard of. It's kind of like with botched suicide attempts where people will vomit up the lethal amount, because the body knows that it's taken something on that it cannot handle, and it immediately goes into basically life-saving measures. You'll begin to vomit, you'll begin to shit, you'll just begin to expel everything. Your body will do a core dump in a last-ditch attempt, and of course the morphine will, of course, neutralize this. Your ability to breathe, cause a type of organ paralysis, so that you'll be able to keep down the poison. And of course, with the poison being ingested, it looks a lot more like elected suicide rather than the poison being given intravenously. Understand? Okay? Now, and I definitely wanted to play you this woman. This is American. Let me see if I can jump ahead and because we know the guy's name, because I know we're listening to the narrator that sounds very, very robot. excuse me, very, very robot-like, and it kind of makes you wonder, are we watching something that's AI generated? So, but no, we do end up getting a first and a last name. Let me take you ahead to that, if I may.
With me when he was dead. No one explained anything. No one said a word. And that was it. And then they sent me the COVID-19 death certificate. And I mean, I'm still in shock how they could do this. And he sounded fine. And he was 65 years old. He was in great shape. He had no comorbidities. He was a really kind man. And he didn't deserve to die this way, starving to death. And then it wasn't painless. He was doubled over in agony for an hour at least. And he didn't deserve to be executed this way when he would have made it just fine. And he was a good man, and he was calm and patient, and he was a wonderful husband. And so I just hope that there's justice for him, for Christopher Zakari, my husband.
Christopher Zakari, that was her husband. So this is a real person, and he died writhing in agony. And of course, everything that was done to him, every step of the way, these so-called healthcare professionals will tell you they did it for your own good, for everybody's good. We have to protect you. We have to keep you safe. If there's anything that we've definitely seen in the wake of the fake pandemic, is that either the words, the language, or the very concept thereof of keeping you safe from others and safe from yourself, keeping you safe from making the wrong decision. This is what the government is instituting. Now let me take you over to our diabolical House bill, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I will show you how murder of this nature gets drafted into law. All right, and here we are at Assembly Bill 5271. Apologies if I've been saying the number wrong up until now, but Assembly Bill 5271, State of New Jersey. I will indeed also show you who it was that concocted this demonic legislation. Here, I'll show you their faces now. The primary authors of House Bill, as we see here, that is House Bill 5271, we have Robert Auth, Nancy F. Munzo, Deanne C. DeFuccio, sorry if I'm butchering that, and Sean T. Keene. Okay, we also have McCarthy Patrick, Bethan McCarthy Patrick, Kim Elner, John Catalano, etc., etc. There are some Democrats that are thrown into the mix here, okay? So this is definitely drafted up as bipartisan, okay? That's part of how they... This death warrant, okay, it's actually an arrest and a death warrant in one. It's a twofer, 2 in 1, okay. This legislation, it's got a lot of sound good, feel good language built into it, and you can definitely tell that the language, it's meant to titillate and tickle the ears of a person like myself. Well, somebody at least that will just simply read headlines and leave good enough alone, okay? Let's take a look at what our headline is. There's our sponsor, Assemblyman Robert Auth and Nancy Munzo. Synopsis. Establishes New Jersey Pandemic Bill of Rights for the Welfare of Individuals. I want you to see that. I want you to make sure that you can really see it. Well, doesn't that sound wonderful? considering everything we Republicans have been through the past 3.5 years of being at the hands of those dastardly World Economic Forum, World Health Oligarchy, the Klaus Schwabs and the Tedros and the Walensky's and the Fauci's, and they've just had their way with us. But what's this? New Jersey Pandemic Bill of Rights for the welfare of individuals. Wow, this sounds great. Really? Your boy Total Control 871 is here, walking you through it every step of the way. We're going to find out exactly how great this House bill is, shall we? All right, let's get into it. An act, oh boy, an act concerning the rights of individuals during a pandemic, and of course, this is all, pandemic. But I'm gonna read the language of this House bill exactly as is. I'm not gonna throw in my usual editing to the truth, edit out bullshit, because sometimes I'll say fake pandemic when it doesn't actually say that. So I'm not going to edit out the bullshit. I'm going to read it exactly as it is, because it's very important that you understand the language of what's in this House bill and what it will empower the government to do to you once it declares what it deems to be either a pandemic or some other amorphic health emergency. Let's read, shall we? By the State Senate General Assembly of New Jersey, this act shall be known and may be cited as the New Jersey Pandemic Bill of Rights for welfare of individuals. Let me see. Hold on. Go get my halls. I'm back. All right. Let's go. The legislature finds and declares that the state of New Jersey has a fundamental duty to implement measures to rectify mistakes that were made during the coronavirus 2019, COVID-19 lockdown and pandemic. Now, if that doesn't make your hair stand up and put you at red alert, I don't know what does. Remember, the government is never going to ever actually be proactive for your betterment, okay? Because it's saying mistakes that were made during the coronavirus lockdown and pandemic. So when I first read this, by the way, I read this back in May. I've been completely preoccupied with caring for my sister who's out of state. She has a whole situation going on. I'll bring you up to speed later on that. But I wanted to bring this to you back in May, actually. I stumbled upon this information as I was researching each and every candidate in the New Jersey primary back in May. See, it's so important that you research these candidates because you never know what you're going to find out, such as some twisted shit like this. Okay, so that's how I came upon this back in May. I wanted to make a video of it before then, but like I said, I've been dealing with my sister's situation. Okay, let's continue reading on. The citizens of the state of New Jersey should have certain rights. You'll have to forgive me if I chuckle whenever they say rights. Should have certain rights to ensure their welfare and dignity. Dignity is when they say things like dignity, that's usually dovetailed with death. Okay? Doesn't that put you on edge? When I read that, I was like, dignity? Yes, dignity is dovetailed with death. Dignity and to prevent the human suffering. Oh, what did we just see from our testimonies of people? See, that's why I played that video footage for you first before coming to this House bill, because I didn't want you to think that I was just simply reading too deeply into it. Oh, total control. You're making too much of it. You're reading too deep into it. Around the world, both foreign and domestic, people's loved ones were murdered during the fake pandemic, murdered under the color of care, prevention of suffering. Okay, that's why I played the footage for you first. The citizens of the state of New Jersey should have certain rights to ensure their welfare and dignity, and to prevent the human suffering endured by individuals during the COVID-19 lockdown and pandemic. The residents of nursing homes and other long-term care facilities among the most vulnerable of our population bore up to 30% of all COVID-19 deaths that occurred in state. And of course, we saw Our Lady say that husband doing just fine. Basically, it's already been exposed how the death count for COVID was outrageously overcounted. Any and everything was being called COVID, okay? So when it says 30% of all, what's an actual COVID death? Oh, you mean when you sit there and shove barbiturates and paracetamol and morphine and midazoline when you administer lethal cocktails, and then you want to call it COVID? Oh, okay. Crucial concerns for individuals and the most vulnerable among our population during the COVID-19 lockdown and pandemic included overcrowded hospitals, insufficient assisted living support, barring family members from helping loved ones, misguided government actions and policies that resulted in the placement of COVID-19 patients in nursing homes, problematic isolation, and other restrictions for COVID-19 patients, and the inability to access legal help due to the government designating attorneys, designating attorneys as non-essential workers, and the resulting closures of such offices. I want you to remember that, how they are in this House bill, how they are carving out protections for the lawyers here in New Jersey. Because remember, in New Jersey, you can't get help for the fake pandemic, you can't retain legal counsel for how your civil rights were violated. Why? Because all of the lawyers, they're all playing along. They're all playing along with be it Project 65. I know that's supposed to be just for Trump, but I think it goes far beyond Trump. It's basically anybody that challenged the fake narrative of a so-called pandemic. You are to not assist these people legally with legal help in any fashion whatsoever. If you do, the attorney, will find themselves into a world of trouble. So, but I just want you to bear that in mind, how they're carved. I'm pointing it out to you. Bear it in mind, how they are making sure they can protect because remember now, they didn't say anything about anybody else's business, be it big or small. The Jews are taking care of their own. They're going to take care of their Jew lawyers that are willing to play ball. Okay, let's continue on. Therefore, it is in the best interest of the state to establish a pandemic Bill of Rights to ensure the welfare of New Jersey's citizenry during a pandemic. But they didn't just stop at pandemic. Keep listening. During a pandemic, a widespread outbreak of an infectious disease, or a declared public health emergency. So not just simply infection. Can you remember now, bearing in mind everything that you've bared witness to the last 3.5 years, things that they declare to be a threat to your well-being. See? So the language of this thing goes far beyond just something that can be cultured and put on a slide. Ironically enough, COVID's never been cultured and put on a slide. Ironic there. But it can be something that's amorphous, something that's not really definable. It's just something that we can declare an emergency. We say it's a threat to your health. Dissenting speech, mark my words, will be listed and labeled as a threat to public health. If you think I'm reading too deep into that, if you think that I am making too much of this, total control, you speak as if this House bill will enable the government to start rolling out National Guard troops. Who remembers that Stephen King, the mini series? I just watched all 6 hours of it on YouTube with not a single commercial. Kind of weird, almost like YouTube doesn't want you pulling away from it. They want you to think pandemic, anyway. But when the military troops came for the citizens of the first town that got infected in the Stand and whatnot. So total control, it's too much. You act like there's gonna be army trucks out here rounding us up just because we question the narrative. What makes you think they won't? This House bill gives them that power. Let's keep reading. The citizens of the state of New Jersey shall have the following rights during a pandemic. And I love how they got the unmitigated gall to refer to this as rights. Let's check it out. A widespread outbreak of an infectious disease or declared public health emergency. See, they like to put in that extra language. To have effective safeguards in place to protect a resident of a nursing home or long-term care facility or a person with a pre-existing condition against an infectious disease that is the basis of our pandemic or declared public health emergency. Do you understand what I just read to you? Okay. To have effective safeguards. I'm going to let you think about that for just a second. I don't want to wait too long. I'm trying to keep this short. Okay, if you need those kinds of dots connected for you, then fine, I'll connect it for you. It doesn't just simply mean healthcare, hospitals, ER rooms. It also means police and or military personnel keeping you detained. I'm gonna keep reading. As I continue on to read, okay, I don't want to sound too punitive. I don't want to talk down to you guys. Does this effective safeguards or care, protective care, what exactly are you describing? Are you describing hospitalization or are you describing incarceration? Hospitalization or incarceration? Bear those two words in mind as we continue reading on. Okay? So you have the right for safeguards. We got to keep you safe here. To be fully evaluated and treated in a healthcare facility and not to be released from that facility without knowing whether one has tested positive for an infectious disease that is the basis of the pandemic or declared public health emergency, thereby depriving one of care and risking further spread of disease. What this means is, okay, because I don't want to make this too long, or otherwise I would cut to some footage, some of my archive footage of me being denied service, be it Medcom. I think we all have seen how I was denied service at Medcom, and I was also denied service at the ER room. What this says, see, initially, if you're not paying very, very close attention, you would say to yourself, well, all right, total control. This is something right up your alley. Now when you go, you won't be turned away. Yeah, you're right, I won't be turned away. To be fully evaluated and treated in the healthcare facility and not to be released. Okay? Notice how there is no mention here, not to be released against your will. Your will, what you want, your wishes are not written into this. Okay? So when you come in, this means that during what they call a pandemic, oh my, Mr. Dunbar, well, before we let you go, we're going to need to test you. Well, no, thank you. I don't want to be tested. I just came. I fell. I sprained something. I needed an X-ray. Yes, well, we understand you just simply needed an X-ray, or maybe you had a burn or something like that. You came for first aid. But you know what, Mr. Dunbar, seeing as how you're here during a declared health emergency, well, for your protection and everybody else's, you will not be released from this facility without knowing whether one has tested positive for an infectious disease. You can't go anywhere, Mr. Dunbar, until we say it's okay, until we say it's safe. All that's needed now is a government hit list, a roundup list, a dragnet, dissenting opinions, who's on the list. Bring them in for a medical evaluation. It's for their protection and others. Okay? Otherwise, if you don't want to be incarcerated, medical incarceration basically, well then, you better not come here looking for medical treatment. Because if you come here, you're going to be detained. You'll be medically raped. We're going to take hegemonic, total control over your body. It's for your own good and everybody else's. Hegemonic, total control. Are you watching? Are you paying attention? How many of you open eyes are actually awake? Let's continue on. Go to our next page. And we see here that this abomination is authored by Miss Munzo, okay? To receive adequate nourishment. Yeah, I mean your peanut butter jelly sandwich. To receive adequate nourishment, medical care, and other necessities from a properly staffed, there's another keyword, properly staffed healthcare facility as a patient of that facility. So I've already in the prior paragraph, I've already outlined how they are going to medically incarcerate you against your will. Okay, and in this right here, they're starting to spell out more of your so-called rights, which I don't know. Have any of you ever been arrested? Because I can tell you right now, anybody that spent any time in a jail, they'll definitely tell you, this shit sounds like prisoners' rights. The rights that are afforded to the incarcerated. Adequate nourishment. Yeah, I know. Jail food. Medical care. Yeah. We'll give you a level of care that the state has signed off on as being adequate. Yeah. They'll sign off all right. If they want their paycheck, they'll sign off. right? Judy Persicelli. You'll sign off on it, right? Yeah. Okay. And when it says properly staffed, huh? Are you thinking doctors and nurses and technicians, lots and lots and lots of technicians? No! Armed security is what they have in mind. That, my dear citizenry, is what they're talking about when they say properly staffed. Oh yes, lots and lots and lots of jackboot paratroopers on every floor, every corner, making sure that you don't make a break for it. After all, you might infect somebody. You know, with your thinking, with those dirty, dirty thoughts of yours. Let's continue reading. To receive adequate nourishment and medical care and other necessities from a properly staffed healthcare facility as a patient of that facility. To be provided appropriate physical and occupational therapies and to be periodically moved to prevent debilitating wounds if a patient is confined to a bed. I think what you mean to say is confined to a cell. Okay. See? And what I just read to you, yes, that's called yard time. Prison yard time. Okay? I'm telling you, if anybody's ever been incarcerated, they know exactly what I am talking about. Okay? In case you don't know, I spent 2 months having been abducted by state police and put into the Mercer County jail here in New Jersey, in Mercer County. Okay? No complaining witness. They ultimately just simply dropped the charge. The charge is supposed to be terroristic threat. What was my threat? In the narrative box, they're supposed to write down, put it like that, the guy who just threatened Biden, they had no trouble at all putting out, I'm dusting off my sniper gun, I'm doing it. See, they can say what it was that he said. Okay? With me, they didn't do that. What they literally did was they took the mouse, click, cut and paste, highlight, copy, and they inserted the definition of what a terroristic threat is. What do you mean the definition? Yes, I get it. Terroristic threat, conveyance of terrorist threats over whatever means, mediums and whatnot. Yes, that's the definition of the statute. But could you please tell us what it was that I did? No? Huh. I couldn't help but notice the victim box on the police report. It's glaringly empty. Who's bringing charges against me? Oh, nobody. So you have no statement of what it is that I allegedly did, and you don't have a complaining witness. Excuse me, why was I abducted and dragged off to your incarcerated? Why? I digress. I'm just trying to let you understand that I know what it feels like to be in a jail as I discuss this, because I want you to understand that I'm not just simply pulling shit out of my ass. It is indeed a lived experience, okay? And I didn't mean to rehash my whole incarceration thing. It is a little triggering, and you get triggered by the whole memory of it all, but yes, prison yard time. That's exactly what this paragraph, this sentence describes. To be provided physical occupational therapy. That's strange. If a person they're well enough to get up and move around, kind of like Our Lady said, he was sitting up in bed and he was talking, his eyes looked kind of drowsy, but he could speak just fine. I know. There's been a lot of those recounts. There's been a lot of those accountings of that, of loved ones that 1 second they're calling on the phone or FaceTiming and everything is okay. Yeah, they're there. They feel they got the flu and all the symptoms that come along with the flu. I get that. And by the way, normally when you show up at the ER, because everybody pretty much knows, if you got the flu, people go to the ER so they can get their little script, because they might not be able to afford a doctor visit, but they'll probably have the money for, a prescription strength flu medicine, Might cost them 20 or 30 bucks, but they can afford that, but they can't afford $300 or $400 for a doctor's visit. You dig what I'm saying? So that's why they'll go to an ER room. They know they're not going to be admitted. At least that's the way it used to be. Okay. Also, that's what our language here says: right to be evaluated, fully evaluated. Did I pass by that already? Where it says to be fully evaluated. Okay. I skipped past this talking point. What this means is that there's not going to be any, you come in, you get your little Theraflu script or whatever medicine is going on out there at the time. You're not going to do that. No. Now that you're here, we're going to forcibly keep you here until we have a positive determination. Okay? So we're going to medically rape you. We're going to force you to do our test. You're going to be incarcerated in your cell that will mark down as being confined to bed. Yeah, under lock and key, I'm sure. And of course, and thanks to our adequate staffing, there's going to be a guard at every door to make sure you stay in your medical prison cell. How long? Well, we'll keep you for whatever the so-called incubation period time is. So even if you're not a dissenting opinion, so it's not just going to be the dissenting people that you're looking to lock up. I mean, they probably got their own special plans for people like me. But for you, who the sheep who go along with it, you're going to be cannon fodder. You're going to be statistical numbers that they can churn. They'll be able to say, because remember now, because the hospitals were so glaringly empty, if you don't have a choice whether or not to leave, if you're being detained, if you're being incarcerated for the next 2 weeks, mandatory quarantine basically, a mandatory quarantine, then that's how they'll be able to fill up the beds the next time around when they go to perpetrate their fake pandemic. Oh my goodness, they'll pan the camera. Oh my God. Look at all the people who are sick and dying. They're not sick and dying. They're not allowed to leave. You're not allowing them to leave. Okay? They feel perfectly, other than maybe flu symptoms. Other than that, they're just fine. You simply won't let them leave. Okay? Let's get back to our talking points here. Yes, your prison time. Get up, move around. To be permitted visitation. Ooh, that's another prison talking point. More prison talk. To be permitted visitation as a patient or prisoner. Prisoner? Which is it? Is it patient or prisoner? To be permitted visitation as a patient or resident. Resident? How long are they going to be keeping you? Of a healthcare facility in accordance with the need. Ooh, pay close attention to that. With the need for proper support or family or loved ones. So basically what this means is you and your family are not going to be able to visit as you like. It'll be what the state, what the hospital, who is controlled by the state, okay? It's what they feel is appropriate and what's needed. You need your rest. Okay? You need your rest. We can't have too many visitation. You'll wear yourself out. Remember, this is all being done for your good, for your benefit. We have to keep you safe. Okay? They're keeping you safe. 3.5 years they've been keeping you safe. How safe do you feel? More of those safeguards. To have safeguards implemented. Yeah, I bet they are. You mean 4/4 straps? Huh? Restraints? When isn't that what they use? The crazy room or the rubber room? When you're strapped down to the bed because you become angry because you probably at some point during your what is it? You think you're admitted. You're not admitted in the hospital. You're incarcerated. So depending on your personal level of cognitive ability, I hate to say it like this, but basically, how stupid are you? How long did it take you to figure out that you're not admitted and that in fact you are incarcerated? So whatever time frame that may be, once the light bulb goes off in your head and suddenly you realize, gee, I think I'm being held against my will. No shit, Sherlock. So now you're flipping out. Now you're freaking out. Now you're angry as fuck. And you're acting out. They've got safeguards. Ooh, safeguards. Yay, safeguards. To have safeguards implemented by a healthcare facility to protect against infectious disease that is the basis of our so-called pandemic or declared healthcare emergency, whatever language you want to roll with at the time, right? To have the needs and wishes stated in this is a doozy right here. Gotta take my time reading this one. The whole damn document is diabolical. To have the needs and wishes stated in a legal or medical directive met without government interference or mandates that prohibit healthcare professionals from carrying out such directives, including but not limited to, do not resuscitate orders. Okay? Remember our family member, the son, going to the London police? Oi! They want to kill me, mum! They're going to kill my mum! Once this is implemented, there's nothing there's nothing the local police can do, nothing New Jersey State Police can do, nothing elected officials can do. You won't be able to contact your senator, congressman. You won't be able to do shit. The government won't be able to intercede. The courts will not be able to intercede. You will be in the jaws at the mercy of your intensivist. They call it an intensivist. It's a particular type of doctor who basically oversees your euthanasia. Healthcare. We don't call it euthanasia. Because technically, if you listen to that, what the cop and the guy were going back and forth with, if you listen to the whole thing, that's basically what the medical, because the cop, he did call the hospital and he spoke with the doctors. And basically the gist of the whole thing is that it's not our goal that his mother die. We want to administer these drugs that will alleviate any kind of suffering. However, we do understand that sometimes death can be an unfortunate byproduct of the administration of said drugs. Oh. Do you want to be an unfortunate byproduct? Do you want your loved one to be an unfortunate byproduct? The state of New Jersey is actively trying to engineer their supreme, omnipotent power and authority to euthanize you at will. Okay, we've already outlined, in our directive here, that you don't have control over your body. They're going to shove whatever they want to inside your body once you've turned up at the hospital. Okay? And quite frankly, this entire directive, it's not necessarily limited to just people who are at the hospital. It's still a little unclear as to whether or not they can just simply descend upon people who are either in their homes or on the road moving about publicly. We have cause to believe. We think, contact trace. Maybe your cell phone pinged somewhere where, somebody tested positive. Oh my God, go round up these people. They don't have a choice to say no. We're going to take them to the hospital where there are safeguards. Safeguards that ensure that they will be receiving medical care, whether they want it or not. I hope you're watching. I hope you're paying attention. Let's keep reading. Do not resuscitate orders. You won't be able to go anywhere. They're going to murder them, and the murder will be perfectly legal if this abominable piece of legislation is put through. To have attorneys designated as essential workers, got to protect the Jews. Their livelihood. The Jew attorneys, their livelihood's going to be called essential. Okay? And to have attorney offices remain open during a pandemic, a widespread outbreak of infectious disease, or a declared public health emergency. Amazing, amazing. The way all these very many pandemics seem to just know their boundaries. There's isn't that like the iRobots, the Roomba robots, the vacuums, the mops? You set up like a barrier where they can't go. Is that what COVID's like, or any of these fake pandemics? Is that what it's like? You just kind of draw a barrier around something. All right, COVID. You see that sign up there, Esquire. Nope. Nope. Bad COVID. Down COVID. You do not go there. No. Are you watching? Are you paying attention? Rules for thee, but not for me. To have full access to legal services and the ability to visit an attorney's office during a pandemic, widespread outbreak, infectious disease, blah, blah, blah. The Commissioner of Health shall publish a notice. Okay? Damn fly. That's where they get in here and they get stuck. I try, when I come in, I try coming in as quickly as I can. It's amazing how they know to lurk at the door. Well, I think they can, their bug senses can sense cooler because I got the air conditioning on. They know where something's cooler. Anyway, let me get back to my thing here. The Commissioner of Health shall publish a notice of the rights enumerated in the New Jersey Pandemic Bill of Rights for the welfare of individuals pursuant to Section 3 of this Act, and shall make this notice available to the public on the Department of Health's internet website. All healthcare facilities, including nursing homes and long-term care facilities, shall post a copy of this notice in a conspicuous location that is available to the public. Well, of course they are. So that when you begin to resist arrest, okay, when you begin to say, well, no, I don't need to be admitted. I just had a headache, or I sprained my wrist. I just came because I sprained my wrist. There's an emergency going on right now, so we're going to need you to come with us. The hell I am. I'm getting out of here. Well-staffed. Summon some of those well-staffed security guards. We got a runner. Isn't that the phrase? We got a runner. That's what's coming for you. They want a copy of this so that when you go to run, they will restrain you and then point to it on the wall. Mr. Dunbar, I don't think you understand. We've got the right. The law is on our side. Oh, I see. This shall take effect immediately. No time like the president. Okay? Take effect immediately. Here's the statement. Basically, it reads completely as I just did. I'll just scroll. I don't want you to think I'm hiding anything from you. You can pause and read this at your leisure, but it's basically everything that I just read to you as is. And there you go. That is our fourth and final page. So, what do you think about Assembly Bill number 5271? What do you think about the state of New Jersey's agenda? Agenda to incarcerate any and everyone for the purposes of manufacturing their fake pandemic numbers. They fully understand that everything was empty as they were crying pandemic during COVID. They had nothing. Their mouths were writing checks that the facts could not cash. Where are your sick on pandemic levels? Where? This alleviates that. Any and everybody that wanders into the healthcare system can now be snagged and incarcerated for an indeterminate amount of time. Remember now, they never said how much time they're going to keep you for. That should be of concern to you. They also never make it clear as to whether or not it's only limited to healthcare facilities. Maybe they want to send out a dragnet for all of you stupid enough to allow people to download the app, to track, to trace, to this, to that, to do your part. Yeah, you did your part all right. Suddenly your entire block is being rounded up. Military trucks pull up. We need everybody. The bullhorn comes on. Doors get pounded on. We know you're in there. Please come out. Come with us. Don't make this difficult. The sooner you comply, the sooner you can return home. The sooner you comply, the sooner you can return home. Oh, I see. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. I gave you an hour of my analysis of Assembly Bill 5271. I will leave you now with a viral animated short that was making the rounds a couple of months ago. You probably already seen it, but you know what? I really do feel that a snippet of it is very, very apropos for ending today's episode. Stay watchful. Please think about who you vote for. Remember, all of these people were Republicans. And yes, I will be reaching out to Miss Munzo office and Mr. Off's office. I want to know exactly, do they know what the bill says? It will shock you. People, they just sign off on this shit and they themselves don't even know what it says or the implications thereof. There are questions that need answering, and I intend to get it. Total Control 871.
today's most important news from around the world. Despite all the extraordinary efforts, the government and health system workers are still struggling to bend the curve of growing cases caused by the latest variant of the virus. 5 more people died today, and 30 million tested positively. Citizens are now required to wear masks when they step out to the balconies of their isolation facilities, and take them off only when they are back to the safety of their rooms. Stay compliant. Stay isolated. Stay safe. And now, on to other news.